The Russian authorities have announced the modernization and restoration of shelters and bomb shelters in their country. In annexed Crimea, this issue is relevant given the regular strikes on Russian military facilities on the peninsula. But local officials have already warned there will not be enough shelters for everyone. Explosions and arrivals have been recorded in Crimea since the summer of 2022. They were the result of Russia's full-scale invasion of mainland Ukraine. The Ukrainian Armed Forces have repeatedly stated that their targets in Crimea are Russian military facilities located on the peninsula. This year, drone attacks on Russian military facilities in Crimea have become more frequent. In annexed Crimea, specialized services have already inspected civil defense sites, but they are not designed for everyone who lives on the peninsula. We have been working on shelters and civil defense facilities since 2022. We have checked these facilities. We have more than 1,000 of them. They are necessary and are used at those facilities where work continues during wartime and which fall under the categorization, said Alexander Zrayenko, deputy head of the Crimean Main Directorate of the Russian Emergencies Ministry, at a briefing in Simferopol. For Crimeans who do not have access to special bomb shelters, authorities recommend seeking shelter in deepened spaces, including basements, in apartment buildings. These shelters are numbered and registered. Our task was to prepare them so that people could go down for a long time when the siren sounds. The task was to clean, prepare, and provide lighting. The Crimean Ministry of Emergency Situations is doing this. The underground premises, that is, basements and so on, are the main protection for citizens. Shelters are not provided for everyone, he said at a press conference in Simferopol in May. There are more than 100,000 underground spaces in Crimea that can be used to shelter civilians. The Russian government's Ministry of Emergency Situations of Crimea reported earlier. Their capacity is more than 2.7 million people, the department claims. We have established contact with all the owners of basements and cellars. Everyone understands that if any situation arises, they must open these premises so that residents can take refuge in them. Of the thousands of houses that we visited, there was not a single private owner who did not confirm their readiness to open the premises. Alexander Semchenko, deputy head of the Russian administration of Simferopol, told journalists. In Crimea, for the first time in the last 32 years, new shelters have been built, designed for the evacuation of the population in the event of any threats, claims the head of the Ministry of Emergency Situations, Alexei Eremenko. In most regions of Crimea, despite regular strikes by Ukrainian armed forces on Russian military facilities, there has been an imperceptible increase in civil protection measures for the population. The most fortified city in Crimea appears to be Sevastopol, where the most active strikes by the Ukrainian armed forces on Russian military facilities are recorded. In connection with these attacks, the Moscow-controlled city authorities began coordinating with the Russian military the process of warning the population about air attacks. Other cities in Crimea refused to install similar shelters. Vladimir Konstantinov, the Speaker of the Russian Parliament of Crimea, explained this by the desire not to make ill-considered decisions that will create nothing but panic. Therefore, Crimeans create their own safety spots. For example, residents of Olenevka in the Chernomorsky district have set up protective structures on the beach using sandbags designed for several people. So, the Russian army left the population defenseless in Crimea, and this led to new protests against the Kremlin.
Another group of Ukrainians held captive by Russia has been returned to their country as part of a prisoner exchange. As can be seen from the footage released, Ukrainians along the road are preparing to welcome the prisoners with flags in their hands. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky shared the footage on his Telegram channel. The returning prisoners are fighters of the armed forces, the National Guard, the Border Service and the State Special Transport Service. Among the released are the wounded. It should be noted that this is the fourth stage of the prisoner exchange held under the Istanbul Agreement. Previously, soldiers under the age of 25 were exchanged, and twice wounded prisoners of various ages were repatriated. Corpses are also being exchanged. The number of prisoners being returned is not disclosed.
Донечка моя маленька. Спасибо тобі за письмо. І спасибо мамі за письмо. Я його отримав.
Мамчик, я тебе дуже кохаю, дуже чекаю нашої зустрічі. Дуже чекаю зустрічі нашої.
Добре, тато. Люблю всім передавай привіт.
Ukrainian multi-purpose naval drones Magura V7 have downed Russian Su-30 fighter jets using the latest version of the AIM-9 missile, according to Kirill Budanov, head of the main intelligence directorate, in an interview with the War Zone published on June the 10th. Previously, it was believed that the drones were equipped with AIM-9M missiles, a variant from the late 1980s. However, Budanov revealed that the Magura V7s are armed with a much more advanced weapon, the AIM-9X. The AIM-9X is a state-of-the-art infrared-guided missile in the Sidewinder family and was adopted by the US military in 2003. It represents a significant upgrade over previous versions of the AIM-9, offering enhanced capabilities for both air-to-air and surface-to-air engagements. This missile comes in two variants. Block 1 was the initial version, while Block 2, which entered service later, offers enhancements like better integration with advanced aircraft, GPS-assisted targeting, and improved communications capabilities. Key improvements include the new Mk139 engine, which has increased the missile's maximum range to 30 kilometers and boosted its speed. The upgraded LOAL lock-on after launch system enables effective missile deployment via the Link 16 communications network. Additionally, the infrared seeker in the new version has been replaced with an infrared camera, improving target acquisition and tracking accuracy while reducing vulnerability to thermal interference from the enemy. The missile is also equipped with a radio receiver, enabling radio correction during long-range engagements. The AIM-9X missile demonstrated better characteristics than the R-73, despite the fact that they have similar technical characteristics, Budanov said, explaining why the AIM-9X is preferred over the R-73. On May the 3rd, HUR confirmed the destruction of a Russian Su-30 fighter jet by a Magura sea drone, marking the first recorded instance of a military aircraft being eliminated by a maritime drone system. Ukrainian Magura V-7 drones will accelerate the destruction of Russian aviation with AIM-9X missiles. The Magura V-5, a Ukrainian-developed unmanned surface vessel, has emerged as a cornerstone of Kiev's naval strategy in the ongoing conflict with Russia. Its low profile and small radar cross-section allow it to evade detection by traditional air defense systems, a critical advantage in the Black Sea, where Russian naval and air forces maintain a strong presence. The drone's development, supported in part by technological assistance from Western allies, including the United Kingdom, reflects Ukraine's rapid adaptation to modern warfare's demands. Since its introduction, the Magura V-5 has been credited with sinking or damaging numerous Russian warships and support vessels, including the high-profile sinking of the Moskva cruiser in 2022, a significant blow to Russia's Black Sea Fleet.